Yeah, so tell us more about this live stream chicken.
Well, I want to start Coop and Garden television, but it looks like CGTV is already a thing, unfortunately.
Does it mean the same thing, or is it like common?
I don't think it's Coop and Garden television.
Okay, just making sure. There's still hope. You just got to win the initials war.
Wait, what is it? Is it Chris? I don't
Don't
know. I
just
can.
like think about it like MAGA. We talked about MAGA back with the American Farming Association. There was a MAGA in the 80s. They lost the battle.
Uh-huh.
Don't be them.
Don't be them.
Be the second round of MAGA.
I don't know where we got,
Make
how we
MAGA
got
great
here.
again.
I haven't been listening.
Okay, don't worry
Oh
about it.
man, you really took this off the rails in the 15 seconds I wasn't paying attention.
That's usually what I do, yeah.
Anyway.
So we're talking about Nest cams. So Matt's getting ready to
Oh yeah.
exploit his ladies.
Oh, don't say it like that. Listeners, chime in if you would subscribe to an egg cam. No, I don't think I'd have to do like twice as much work to make the coop look photogenic.
Or think of the money, Matt.
Think of the money. Yeah, true.
Those ladies would be rolling in earthworms. It'd be amazing.
I could be getting up late.
Not for the camera. That cam needs to be on bright and early.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, so subscription closed circuit television. How about that?
Yeah, the American way. Today we are not talking about chickens all day, as fun as that would be. We're talking about the next best thing. Right, Matt?
In the food chain, yeah.
All right, finally, we're talking about sunchokes, or as many might know them, the fartichoke.
Yes, the only gas we want to produce here in America. Sweet, organic.
Make America gassy again? Come on,
Mhm.
It works.
Ugh.
MAGA 3.0, we can do it. Now, for people that are tuning in and aren't familiar with the sunchoke or the Jerusalem artichoke, it's pretty widely known in like the homesteader prepper circles as like a really aggressive native root plant that's related to the sunflower. Especially on the prepper side, it tends to be like this, here's a survival food kind of thing because they probably just can't cook very well.
Or at least can't cook for a long time. Get sunchoked up when they eat my roots.
That's what they say. Now, the sunchoke was consumed by indigenous people here in North America long before the colonists arrived. Although the plant is thought to be one of the oldest cultivated crops in North America, there is a lack of physical evidence because, tubers. So it's really difficult to like confirm any early cultivation because, not exactly great fossilized material like nutshells.
Yeah, it's not something I kind of would expect to survive like thousands of years.
That said, we have extensive evidence of its use. The Cree and Huron peoples of eastern North America refer to the plant as askipa and skibwan, which both mean roughly raw thing. This is interesting because it suggests that historically the tubers were consumed raw, a practice confirmed by later historical accounts.
Man, their gut flora must have just been next level.
Yeah.
To eat it raw.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a double dare challenge to eat sunchokes raw. For folks unfamiliar with the sunchoke, the reason it cooks so long and isn't a huge staple of most modern diets is that they produce gas and, let's say, digestive stress, if not fully cooked.
That's a nice radio euphemism.
Yes. Sources lack specific details about the agricultural techniques used by indigenous peoples to manage the landscape and cultivate these plants, but we can assess a few things. So, for example, based on the plant's genetic lineage, researchers suspect that they originated probably in the north centralish region of the United States, like near the Great Lakes. This is primarily because this is where the largest wild populations exist, although wild populations are more common across the eastern half of the continent in general.
I mean, that's not super surprising, right? Like, given the range of like wild sunflowers that tend to overlap in most of that same region.
Exactly. Recent research suggests a possible progenitor species that might have hybridized to produce Jerusalem artichoke was in this area. Remember, the evidence suggests a strong association, but doesn't necessarily confirm that this is the case. It's just more like this is where the evidence would suggest, if we do figure this out, where it probably will be.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go and say ahead and say you can ignore that, listener, and the sunchoke is 100% absolutely scientifically confirmed from the Great Lakes. I kind of want to put a anti-science literacy spin on this podcast.
You could have bought InfoWars today if you'd just like woken up on time.
I know, that's crazy.
Oh, we should have crowdfunded that. What the fuck? We dropped the ball on this. I'm sorry, everyone. This should be an InfoWars first episode.
Man,
Now,
Alex, you gotta come on as a guest.
he's going to tell you about the gas,
We're talking about how to turn the frogs gay.
but on purpose. Yes. Now, fast forwarding a bit, a guy named Samuel de Champlain, a French explorer, first observed the Jerusalem artichoke in 1605 during his explorations of the North American East Coast. While he never uses the term sunchoke or Jerusalem artichoke, his journal entries describe encountering a plant and its tubers during his voyages that sound awfully familiar. So, for example, on July 21st, 1605, upon visiting the eastern Abenaki people of Cape Cod, he describes, and these are his words, "We saw some roots which they cultivate, which have the taste of artichokes." Strange, right? He also noted that the roots were actively cultivated, not simply gathered from the wild, explaining that they saw, in quote, "an abundance of Brazilian beans, many edible squashes of various sizes, tobacco and roots which they cultivate, the latter having a taste of artichokes." He is like really stuck on this artichoke flavor, right? And he implies in his description that these plants were being grown in a polycrop in like a diverse agricultural system, which means it was more than just like something being harvested from the wild.
Man, polycropping the our fartichoke with the beans feels almost like they're like taunting the white man's microbiome.
Yeah, this is like the foods that are too spicy for white people guts.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, we know your mouth can't handle it, but also fuck your guts too.
They don't know.
Before they met us, they knew us.
Hmm.
After its discovery by white folks, the sunchoke quickly gained popularity as a food source, particularly in France, and it was widely cultivated. Because obviously the French love farty things, right?
Hmm.
Have you smelled their cheeses? It makes so much sense. Now, despite this, the challenge that became obvious was cultivation. It was a messy process. Not because the plant is difficult to grow, because as anyone that's grown some, that is absolutely not the case. It's the opposite. And in Europe, actually, this has been the extreme opposite. It's kind of an invasive problem in most of Europe. But that wasn't really the problem we're talking about right now. The problem we're talking about right now is the diversity of names that people use for the sunchoke.
Oh man, yeah, I've been wondering about the whole name thing.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it, and like some of it is kind of weird, so it's going to be a good time. So the most common name, Jerusalem artichoke, is a what we might call a double misnomer. The plant is neither related to artichokes, nor does it have any connection to Jerusalem.
And you're telling me this plant is Israeli?
Well played. The artichoke part of the name likely arose from early European explorers comparing the taste of cooked tubers to that of globe artichoke hearts, as we've already commented several times now. The Scandinavians also enjoyed a good sunchoke, and they gave it a really great name. It was called, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but I'm pronouncing it how it looks phonetically, Jordskock, which comes from the tubers being in the soil, which is jord, and tasting like artichokes. Artiskokens.
Tasting like cock.
You know, I was waiting to see if you would say something, Matt. You had to bring it down, huh? So this is one argument about where this Jerusalem may have come from. Jordskock, Jerusalem. Can't tell them apart. You?
Nope.
I'm saying the same word, right? It's like that meme. They're the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah. All right. So another one is that it's a corruption of an Italian phrase for sunflower artichoke, girasole. I can't pronounce Italian when I'm being recorded because it feels really weird. I feel very performative about it. Girasole artichoke.
Andy, you don't do the hands. You just gotta not do the hands.
That's it. I'm flailing. I hit the microphone. So girasole artichoke, which again means sunflower artichoke. The difficulty of English speakers, like certain people I know, struggled pronouncing these words, and supposedly Jerusalem became Jerusalem, which I don't know. Some people disagree because it wasn't commonly used for sunflowers as a term in the 17th century, which is when the Jerusalem artichoke was introduced to Europe. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on either of them.
I mean, we're also talking about the same people that called turkeys turkey because they thought they were being shipped from Turkey, but it was the Spaniards and trading monopolies.
I'm sorry, what? I don't know this turkey story.
Like turkeys.
Interesting. Fucking turkeys, man. Now, the alternatives to the name's origins might be that Jerusalem is a corruption of Terneuzen, which is a location in the Netherlands, where the crop was also cultivated and distributed in the early 1600s by a pastor named Petrus Hondius, which sounds like he should have been, like, in some book from 6,000 years ago. Now, the phrase artichokes van Terneuzen could have been easily mispronounced as artichokes of Jerusalem, eventually shortened to Jerusalem artichokes. Despite the inaccuracy of the name Jerusalem artichokes, it has, persisted.
Yeah, I'm not really buying either of them, to be honest.
Or any of them. They're all awful excuses.
Hell, I'm not buying sunchokes full stop.
Oh boy. Another popular name, topinambur, is also prevalent in many European languages, and its origin lies in a case of mistaken identity. Now, during the 16th and 17th centuries, there was confusion about the Jerusalem artichoke's origins, with some believing it originated in Brazil. Linnaeus, in his 1753 publication Species Plantarum, listed Brazil as the origin, possibly influenced by earlier works that mistakenly identified the plant as Brazilian.
A classic mistake to make.
Classic blunder.
Really, who among us has not misidentified something as Brazilian?
As 6,000 miles apart. Big deal.
Mm-hmm. Who among us?
Who among us casts the first stone? Now, around the same time in 1613, a group of indigenous people from Brazil, the Tupinambas, visited Paris. Being 1613, this was kind of a big fucking deal, right? And it was also around the same time that Jerusalem artichoke was showing its face in Europe. So they kind of like stuck together, and the name kind of just stuck. The name we've been mostly using today in this episode is sunchoke. This comes from its indigenous roots. Before its European journey, the Jerusalem artichoke was known by various North American names, or Native American names, including Keskuk Penuk, which means sun roots, and that was used by the Algonquin people. These original names reflect the plant's connection to the sun and its edible roots, sunflower plus roots, right? The name was largely lost as the plant was adopted and renamed by European cultures because that's what Europeans do, but has continued to live on under the portmanteau sunchoke. And this was such a big issue that it's been discussed around sunchoke circles for a long time. It was suggested to use sunchoke in 1877 by a guy named J.H. Trumbull, and in 1918, Gardener's Chronicle, a newspaper, journal, magazine thing that came out every quarter, they actually even offered a prize for the new, more appropriate English name for the Jerusalem artichoke because they didn't want to keep using that.
And they had no bites that were better? No ideas?
Apparently not. So now we've got the Jerusalem artichoke and the sunchoke, which I'm a strong fan of the sunchoke as a better name, and that's what I call it. So
I like sunroots, to be honest.
Sunroot is pretty cool too. I like that a lot.
Suntubers.
No.
Suntubes.
Suntubes. That sounds like kid version of YouTube.
Totes.
Suntube.
Totes tubes.
Totes tubes.
Totes tubes.
Tubular tubes. Yeah. No, we're getting off the rails. So while the name had changed and was used interchangeably with several different origins, somehow the Jerusalem artichoke or the sunchoke had become a really common food source in many European countries. And it was because it grew really easily and had these really nutritious tubers. So like everyone in the 18th century was eating sunchokes.
So easy to grow, you might call them invasive even.
Some might. Now, the numerous books and monographs published about the crop during the period are a testament to its significance and speaks to the fact that like they were consumed in Russia, in Germany, and France. English were already struggling digestively, so they ate it a little bit, but not like the rest of the world. They're real white, man. Like in the European scale, they're just like they're way up there.
Well, there's that map of the like whiteness bullseye.
Mm,
You seen that?
I haven't, but I can imagine.
It's like it goes down to like southern England and the Netherlands.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to the Dutch or the Scandinavians that could still eat this plant because they're like basically feral white people.
I wasn't paying attention. Do I now got a second feral white people?
I shout out to the Scandinavians because they like their weird pickled shit and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Shout out the scans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they can eat
I bet
them.
they're into this.
Yeah. So, like I said, the tubers are the primary part that you eat, and they could be cooked in like several different ways. You can boil them, you can roast them, you can fry them, you can pickle them.
Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
Your people do that stuff too. They also use them for animal feed and for alcohol production, and they still are today.
I have personally fed sunchoke to animals, and I definitely need a pint of sunchoke vodka.
You know, there is a distillery in Texas, and I tried to get them to come on the podcast just so I could make them send me a bottle of it. No dice.
Oh, they're doing it in Texas?
Oh, yeah, they're legitimately making sunchoke alcohol,
That's very cool.
right? I mean, if I ever won the lottery, that's like one of those things I would fund just because. Like, let
Yeah.
a man make his sunchoke shine in peace.
Sunchoke, sunshine.
Oh, shit, Matt. You've done it. Sunshine.
Yeah, we gotta kind of buy that domain before we put this out.
Yeah, before this comes out, we'll have
Like
bought that.
sunshine.com isn't already bought.
Yeah, I know.
Sunshine.com.
We're going to have to come up with something for that. We got months. Months, Matt. Let's think about it. Now, the question then might be, why aren't sunchokes still popular in Europe today? Introducing brown, angry root crops. The potato.
Oh, yeah.
The potato visited Europe in the mid-18th century. And what can I say? The Europe liked a good potato. Famously, more than the sunchoke.
He really hopped on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it started with Ireland and all went downhill. The reason why potatoes did so well is that they produce higher yields. They're easier to cultivate because they're an annual crop, which perennials are great, but it also means like your processing, your growing and your harvesting is a little bit different. Potatoes are also easier to store, whereas sunchokes tend to be like a little bit more delicate and a little bit more prone to spoilage. And for those of you that are familiar with a potato, they're usually pretty smooth. Sunchokes, on the other hand, tend to not, and they tend to be like a little bit knobby. They're, I guess, smooth, but they're definitely more knobby.
Yeah, they grow in sort of like a branching pattern.
Yeah.
They're like not yeah, I guess knobby is just the right.
Yeah. So point is, potatoes are great, but that doesn't mean our sunchokes aren't valuable for us, for the landscape, for everyone. Everyone eat a sunchoke. Get that sunshine. Sunchokes are remarkably adaptable, which is why they're so great. They can thrive in all types of various soils, including ones with very low nutrient content. So like they can grow where other things can't, and they can produce decent amount of calories where other things can't at all. They are very efficient at utilizing water and nitrogen. So again, they're a perfect crop for not perfect soils. And they're native. And they do all sorts of cool stuff, like ecosystem support. And even though they prefer temperate climates, they can tolerate like extreme variations in temperatures from the southeastern United States up through Canada. And that's just great.
I mean, All I'm hearing is they're kind of a badass potato.
They are. They're a badass perennial potato. Now, for folks who want to grow them, if they haven't before, the most common method for propagation is planting pieces of tubers similar to potatoes. Each piece should contain at least 2 to 3 buds to ensure that they'll actually sprout, again, similar to potatoes. Now, while seed propagation is possible, it is pretty rarely practiced because they tend to not be very good at getting fertile. Like they're not self-fertile and I grow a lot of sunchokes and I checked my heads on my flowers about 3 weeks ago and I really expected there to be at least a couple seeds and there was literally no seeds in like several plants. And that speaks to the fact that like producing seeds is not their ideal skill set. And when they do produce seeds, they tend to have low germination rates anyway.
Now you tell me, after I bought my 50-pound bag of Sunchoke cover crop.
Chickens are going to love it, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless of all of that, sunchokes are typically cultivated as a perennial, and they regrow each year from their underground tubers. And then they shoot out new roots and start new tubers around them. And like within 2 years, they've taken over everything. This perennial habit of spreading like this does reduce any need for any annual planting, but there is some careful management that's required to like make it not a nuisance in following years. Now, growth and development of the plant are strongly influenced by like the day length. So the day length will dictate how long the plant grows, when it goes to flower, all of that stuff. So that means if you live someplace with more extreme day lengths, it's going to affect how long the plant grows and all that fun stuff, and might limit its capacity to actually produce viable seed, even if it gets fertilized. Another thing to keep in mind is that planting density, including harvesting, influences the yield in what's called the harvest index. What I mean by that is not only do you have to think about how you plant it, but you also have to think about when you harvest it, are you making sure there's enough space for the following year to harvest again? And what research is showing at this point is that the optimal density is about 8 plants per square yard. And that will produce the ideal amount of tuber production versus like plant production. Because if you leave them like very closely together, you end up with super high densities that promote aerial growth, which means you'll have these gigantic flowers and that energy is being sucked out of the tubers.
So that's like it's like one per less than one per square foot, which seems really sparse until I guess you see how quickly they spread.
Yeah, I mean, people plant them in the first year. They're like, oh, like 3 or 4 popped up. That's not a big deal. And then the next year, there's like 40. And they're like, what happened?
They all broke apart.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
yeah. And then if you leave them again, the next year you don't have a whole lot because they start like infighting basically. Now, harvesting typically occurs in the fall after the foliage has died back. The tubers can overwinter in the ground in some climates, but storage issues can arise if they're just left unharvested for extended periods of time. The other problem is that you have to fight with nature because I think it's the raccoons, but I'm not sure. Somebody loves digging them up in my yard. So there's that.
And so what I'm saying, Andy, is let them,
Train the raccoons, feed them.
yeah. What are you being so selfish for?
And if I train them to steal things from other people's houses,
What if you train them to steal other people's sunchokes?
train them to steal other people's guns. There's
Yeah,
there's the move.
I'm sure that's gonna go great.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Like caught trying to like burglarize someone's home, like covered in scratches. Like, quick, I need rabies medication.
Prove that I did it.
Just kidding. That is raccoon slander. And I think we'll have some people after us.
We should. You don't slender raccoons like that.
Nope. Not in this day and age.
You gotta feed the sunshine to the raccoons.
Oh, you mean get them drunk?
Yes, and then let them ride 30 to 50 feral hogs.
Yeah, on sunchoke liquor.
Yes.
Man.
Now, getting back to sunchokes, right? Breeding programs for the beloved sunchoke have been ongoing, And unfortunately, mostly in Europe and Asia with a focus on improving desirable characteristics. I say unfortunately because, you know, once again, here we are, Americans not caring about our plants. The primary goals of these breeding projects have been to increase the size and yield of the tubers, increase the inulin content, and selection based on size, shape, color, yield, smoothness, all the typical crop stuff, right?
What was that second one you mentioned?
Inulin, the fart stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we haven't talked about that.
Wait, you say wait, there more of that?
Yes, so that is that was the response I was hoping to get out of you. So, inulin is a interesting thing and it has huge health benefits. We're going to talk about it in a minute. We're just not quite there yet.
Okay.
Before we get there, we're going to talk about how it was used, the plant, in the early 20th century. So, it had its heyday as a food crop in the 19th, 18th century, fell off because people got potato eyes and were just like, oh shit, this thing is the best thing that's ever happened. They were mashing potatoes. It was, a party. 20th century comes.
That's what you can say about the 19th century.
Listen, at my
They
wedding,
they they be mashing potatoes.
we had a mashed potato bar. And honestly, if I could do anything about my wedding again, or do anything about my wedding, it would be that my wedding is only a mashed potato bar.
I mean, sounds pretty good.
Everyone would be happy. So don't knock the mash, the monster mash, the potato mash. So 20th century. Okay. We've eaten the plant. Now we're like, let's turn it into energy. Like, we're not going to eat it. We're just going to synthesize it. And the idea was we're going to do ethanol production. And during the World War II, all that fun stuff, it was used for animal feed. And it was more of a, hey, eat this if you're starving kind of plant. And by the 1950s, interest in ethanol came back. We talked about the Freds part 1 and 2 in an episode on American energy farming systems because Fred the first in the 50s and 60s was like, this is the miracle crop. It's going to save America. And then Fred the second in the 80s literally started a business that was like, we can prove that the sunchoke can produce more energy than anything else on Earth. And we're going to create a mega farm to grow it. And we're going to solve the energy crisis. So that's the short history of the sunchoke in 19.
And I can't remember how that ended. Did they solve the energy crisis? Is that they did it back then, right?
I mean, I'm not worried about energy, so
No, they fixed it.
yeah, just feeding some sunchokes to my wood stove right now, biomass, just feeding it like a pig. It's great.
It's a nuclear reactor with a glowing sunchoke at the middle of it.
I actually made my wood stove like a bacteria microbiome, and it just farts, energizes it creates the gas, which then is burned to heat my house.
That would be interesting.
My house is basically sentient, is what I'm saying.
You have like a biological retort.
Yeah. If my biodigester gets like stomach cancer, I'm gonna be so mad.
I guess that's a better version of I saw someone like heating the workshop by dripping like old car oil just like into a wood stove,
Ooh,
just like drip by drip.
what could go wrong?
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. It's great for us in the earth. So if you want to know more about sunchokes and the energy crisis, go check out that episode from 2 seasons ago, something like
Oh
that.
yeah. American energy farming systems.
I think it was a 4-parter. So if you just look for like part 4 in your search, it should be the only one. And yeah, just be prepared.
Absolute banger.
Now, in regards to the research itself, in Russia, the great Soviets of the 60s and 70s had a program focused on hybridization at the Mykop experimental station of the N.I. Vavilov Institute of Plant Industry. Now, this involved crossing established cultivars with wild species and material that they had collected. The program was aimed at developing high-yielding, locally adapted cultivars. One of the outcomes was the release of the drought-resistant and disease-resistant cultivar Vostorg.
Vostorg. I haven't seen that one on the shelves.
Yeah, I don't think it ever made it here.
Bummer.
Now, the Federal Center for Breeding Research on Cultivated Plants in Braunschweig, Germany,
Of course, the FCBRCPB.
at the BG, yeah,
P.
they've been working with the sunchoke since at least the 1980s, and they're trying to conserve all of the genetics and then again do fun breeding stuff. Early research at this center focused on, like, to Matt's point, maximizing the inulin yields from the tubers. In Hungary, research in the 50s at the Martin Vasser Institute of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences concentrated on improving cultivation and tuber processing for producing alcohol and fructose and all that fun stuff. And then, of course, corn became a bigger deal, and most of that research was put on hold.
Man, I feel like it would have been way funner to hang out with the Hungarians than the Germans.
Yeah, I think they were onto something there.
Sugar and alcohol versus friggin'
Gas.
gas.
Yeah. Fortunately, some people in North America were giving a shit about our native plant, and that was Canada's Plant Genetic Resources Committee, or whatever it is. I'm not sure what the C stands for. Forgot to write it
Plant
down.
Genetics Resources of Canada.
Probably. That probably
De
makes a lot of sense.
Canada.
De Canada.
Is this? I've had that fucking Quebecois. I swear to God.
You're so close to that border right now. They're gonna
I'm
snatch
so
you.
paranoid. I'm so paranoid.
They've been doing some really interesting breeding stuff, and they've also preserved 160 varieties of sunchoke. So they got that going for them. They've been like hyping up the whole idea of using as forage and silage, which we haven't talked a lot about silage yet on the show, which I don't know how we made it 250 episodes without that.
I know.
But it's on the list. Don't worry.
Shout out silage.
Shout out silage.
The wet stuff of the hay world.
Yeah, the alcoholic hay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with that. Now, the place where the Canada people are researching actually was in North America. It was in North Dakota. So, fuck you, Canada. It was at the USDA ARS Northern Crop Science Lab in Fargo. So, we got that going for us. We won't fund it.
Fargo's kind of Canada.
We won't fund it, but we will rent the land to you. We are the world's landlord. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Nope.
No, it's not. You're right. It's terrible. Everything is terrible. Despite all of this government-funded work, for folks like us, backyard growers, whatever, there doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of like comprehensive, standardized reference resources or collections for cultivars, and like even like identification. And as we'll see in a minute, in some cases we've had multiple cultivars that are actually the same plant, which is not uncommon when breeding is done primarily in like backyards. And it makes it really difficult to like identify and classify what exists already in terms of genetic material. Now, that said, there are a handful of sunchokes that are available to buyers that are looking to like get the best of the best, quote unquote, of these native perennials.
Okay, so hit me with them. Give me those sunchoke cultivars.
You ready for the first one?
Yeah.
You ready, Matt?
I bet it's weird.
I don't think you're going to be able to remember this one.
I bet it's weird and fucked up.
It's called sunchoke.
No.
Like if you had a tomato and you're like, I'm going to call this cultivar the tomato. It's the...
That'd actually be a pretty good move.
No one can forget it.
I might have to try that.
Bold play, Cotton.
I got an email to write.
So this cultivar of Swedish origin, which then makes more sense because maybe you're saying sunchoke like, well, we don't call that it here. They don't know it's the English version.
Sunchoke. No.
Even though everyone speaks English. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense. And it's pretty widely available in the US, especially on the West Coast. It's characterized by short rhizomes, large tubers, and reportedly high productivity, making it a very good plant for anyone. Now, because I feel like I need to say it, just because you see a sunchoke called sunchoke does not mean that it is the sunchoke. So just remember, it's only a sunchoke when it's sunchoke, not just sunchoke.
Right. Clear.
Any questions?
Should I call an ambulance?
Probably yes. Now, now, and
Shandy's having a strong.
yeah, it feels like the biochar episode all over again. I'm having a moment.
Yeah,
Now, another group is the Fuso cultivars.
thank God.
What, Matt?
No, I said thank God.
Oh, I thought you said, "Oh God." These cultivars are a improved appearance collection, making them more visually appealing for marketing
Mm.
purposes. So when you're trying to get people to bite on the sexy sunchoke, these are your go-tos, and this includes the red and the white Fuso, which I may or not be pronouncing correctly. And it's basically very dark or very light white skin, kind of shiny, pretty is the way I would describe them.
Okay. I'm just taking a look here. I think these look similar to the one. Well, maybe I don't know. They look similar to the ones that we grow here. Yeah. The red ones are pretty cool though. They're like super red and the skin's almost like kind of waxy. They kind of look like they don't come from the same plant.
Yeah, if you've seen like a normal sunchoke that just looks kind of like a tumorous tuber or tumorous potato, they're very different in the way they like you see them. You would assume that they're a different plant. Another one that for most folks are familiar with would be Stampede. These are the large tubers that are most commonly sold today and are available at most nurseries selling sunchokes. I think they're also the ones that Whole Foods sells if you want to buy like grocery store sunchokes
Mm.
because they do sell them, I think, year round now. I don't go to Whole Foods very often, but I feel like the last time I went a couple of years ago, there was Stampede.
Andy, what are you talking about? You love Whole Foods.
I am Whole Foods.
You're a whole food nut.
I'm actually an AI embodiment from Whole Foods.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Bezos created me years ago.
Well, I mean, we didn't tell the listeners that we kind of turned the show over to an AI company now.
Yes. We don't know what they do, but it's AI, so we get paid a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, this isn't our voices.
Oh no, yeah,
This is just the AI avatars they made of us.
we had to upload our brains, and then what they did with it, we don't actually know because this is the AI talking.
Right.
So we may or may not exist anymore. For all we know, we are in a cabin in Maine or Canada, screaming for help, and nobody knows.
Or Canada,
Probably Canada.
because they don't speak English.
That's true.
Sorry, Quebecois.
Distracted by the Canadians once
No,
again.
just sorry to them.
Okay, so last cultivar that I want to talk about is called Clearwater.
Hit me with it. Okay.
Now, Clearwater supposedly has like very tall plants, very potato-like tubers, and has a very notable characteristic of not producing runners. I've never seen it
Hey, that sounds pretty cool.
unless you like the aggression. I like the aggression.
Hmm.
Fine. Now, there's other breeders that are working on making their mark in the Sunchoke cultivar world. We've had several of them on the podcast before. Ken over at Oikos has been growing his own, and I think he's actually grown some from seed, so that's pretty cool. Aaron at Edgewood Nursery is also growing them and doing some fun stuff with his plants. There's also several heirloom varieties that are not for sale that have been stewarded by indigenous communities, and we're not going to do the rare seeds thing like Baker Creek and claim that we have access to them and then steal them and then sell them, because we're not going to do that
Because we're not Baker Creek.
because we're not shitty people.
Yep.
So just throwing that out there.
Shout out all other seed companies
Shout out literally everyone else.
that also have nothing going wrong with them.
Yeah.
Seeds are a tough or a weird business
Mm,
historically,
yes.
just generally.
A lot of thievery.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, to Matt's point about the inulin, all right, we're finally there, Matt. We made it.
Easy, it's they're little.
There.
Finally.
So, to the point we've been making, sunchokes do have this bad habit of giving people bad gas. But the question is, are they still actually bad for you? And we should talk about that. Unlike most plants that store carbohydrates as starch, sunchokes primarily store them as inulin. Inulin acts as a prebiotic, meaning it is not digested in the upper gastrointestinal tract and reaches the colon intact, selectively nourishing beneficial bacteria, particularly bifidobacteria.
Hell yeah.
This prebiotic effect contributes to a healthier gut microbiome, promoting digestion, nutrient absorption, and overall gut health.
So what you're saying is not that sunchokes are bad for you, but rather our gut microbiome is really, really unhealthy.
I mean, probably, maybe. I'm not a researcher, but a lot of evidence seems to point to the fact that they were a much easier food to digest by humans not that long ago, to the point that people, as we noted, consumed them across the globe habitually without having access to bidets.
God help them. Brave souls.
Brave souls. So let's explore this a little bit more. Inulin stimulates the growth of beneficial gut bacteria like bifidobacteria, producing lactic acid and acetic acid that inhibit the growth of harmful putrefactive bacteria. Lactic acid, we've talked about a ton with Korean natural farming. Acetic acid, we've talked about as well for fermentation and all that fun stuff, particularly again with like Korean natural farming. And we've talked about how great those things are both for the plants and yourself. So, should be ringing up a couple bells here. Studies indicate that inulin from sunchokes can reduce the presence of potential fecal pathogens, suggesting a role in preventing intestinal infections.
I mean, you've sold me on it. The next time I have like a gut ache, I'm just downing a whole sunchoke raw.
Just eat it like an apple.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
It sounds like it, right? Inulin's fermentation in the colon produces short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which have been linked to improved bowel function and reduced risk of colon cancer. The presence of inulin and other prebiotic compounds can also enhance the absorption of other essential minerals, including calcium, iron, and magnesium, doing all the stuff that those things are supposed to do for you, making it more accessible. It also helps regulate blood sugar levels, reduce insulin resistance, promote weight loss, all that fun stuff.
Right. And this is the perfect time to mention that we are now introducing our Poor Proles weight loss program. For $99.99, we'll provide you with a cookbook, only sunchokes. That's right, folks. Only sunchoke, all meals, all the time. Choking day and night. You'll choke them down, you'll choke them up. We call it the art of the choke. It's a revolutionary diet choke system, tuber style.
So are we also getting art of the choke artofthechoke.com? Because I feel like that's going to get a very different audience.
No, that we can't afford that, man. That's well-trod territory.
Yeah, that's just awful, Matt.
Sunshine on the other hand, easy money.
Choke and then shine. Yeah, you got to see both sides.
Hmm.
Despite the fact that I covered all this great stuff, that's not it. They can lower cholesterol and triglyceride levels, contribute to cardiovascular health, may even indirectly modulate the immune system, which would be great considering like an entire generation seems to have autoimmune disease issues. It's a great fucking plant that we are not using because it's got this great thing that we can't digest.
Okay, so it's got all this great stuff that we can eat because we've managed to like break our gut biome. I mean, can we go about like fixing that? Do we just like force feed ourselves sunchokes? No pain, no gain.
Well, first, we really need to understand what inulin is and why it creates problems. So, inulin is a type of dietary fiber that humans cannot digest. Now, the degree of polymerization of inulin refers to the number of fructose units in the inulin molecule. Inulin with a higher DP is less readily fermented by gut bacteria, meaning it is less likely to cause gas.
Okay, I strongly suggest just saying degree of polymerization instead of DP.
It fits with our choking theme. So, I mean, DP and the art of the choke.
I like that.
It's what the audience wants. different processing.
Do they? I feel like some of our audience is like frustrated academics that don't want to be hearing that shit.
Listen, don't kink shame the academics, all right? They got enough against them. Look at them.
Mm-hmm.
So, different processing techniques can alter the DP. Sorry, the degree of polymerization of inulin. which is what we describe when we try to process and reduce the gassiness of sunchoke. So what I'm saying is the level of DP impacts your gassiness.
No comment.
We can reduce the impact of this gas in a number of ways, starting with harvesting. Harvesting sunchokes later in the season or after overwintering leads to a lower degree of polymerization in the inulin. Storing sunchokes under cold conditions for an extended period can also cause some inulin breakdown, although this effect is less pronounced than that of cooking methods. So in short, refrigeration with sunchokes is your friend. Boiling sunchokes in a large amount of water and discarding the water can also significantly reduce inulin and the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, fructooligosaccharides content.
Pretty good, yeah. That's a long word.
That was a banger, right? That was like half a line right there.
It's like 25 letters.
It is. Yeah, it's a big boy. Matt's going to count them.
21.
21, I'll take it.
But there's a double O in there that I'm not sure should be.
It is. I copy-pasted that word. You think I spelled it?
Oh, okay. Phonetically.
Slicing the tubers before boiling increases the surface area exposed to water, and this helps further enhance inulin removal. This process of boiling can remove up to 50% of the indigestible carbohydrates. However, the most common method used today is slow cooking, and that is cooking it for extended periods, such as 12 hours, which can break down inulin into fructose, resulting in a sweeter and softer textured food. This process minimizes the amount of inulin that reaches the large intestine for fermentation by bacteria, which means you can eat more of it. Now, lastly, fermentation of the sunchoke itself is an effective method as well. It utilizes inulin as a substrate, converting it into other products and reducing, but not eliminating, its presence in the final product.
Okay, so we're reducing the amount of inulin because we can't handle it, but we're not removing it entirely.
Well, hopefully not. I think you still want to have a little bit of it because it does have all these really great health things, right?
We're just adding some sour cream.
Yeah, something like that. What is that grin for? I don't get your joke.
I don't know, spicy food.
Oh, okay. We're whitifying it, yes, if that's...
Sorry.
The takeaway should be that while sunchokes offer some challenges in becoming a major component of our diets, they have like this really incredible health potential, while also, again, doing the native perennial crop that we're always hyped up on here, and they grow in poor soils, so it's a win-win. Further breeding and research offer us the opportunity to improve these genetics even further, as long as we're willing to take the time and work with the plant. I personally think that the problem with sunchokes is that we're trying to sell it as like this root crop that we buy on the store shelves and then process it ourselves, whereas I think we should be buying it already processed in bulk, the same way we do like rice or flour or beans, or, anything like that, where it's most people are not buying dried beans. I mean, people are, but not most people. And I think by doing that, you're going to be like saving a lot of time and making it more accessible. And alternatively, given how easily it grows, we could also be growing in our backyards and then like harvesting and processing it for storage communally. And that's something I think we're going to be talking about in a few weeks.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. I would love some sunchoke hash browns. You know what I mean?
Sunbrowns?
Yeah. Although maybe that doesn't really go with what you need to do to process them, but I think that'd be pretty good.
You can always try. There's a first time for everything, Matt. They said it couldn't be done, and here we are doing it. Being an AI podcast.
Sunchoke shepherd pie.
Sure. You do you, man. I like the hash browns with some eggs.
Yeah. Be good. Curly sunchoke fries.
Ooh, getting wild now. Watch out.
I feel like you get one fry per sunchoke.
Yeah, you're not getting those monster McDonald's potatoes, that's for sure.
No. Oh well, a boy can dream.
A boy can dream. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, you're curious about the sources, citations, all that fun stuff, you can always go to agroecologies.org and go check out the article. Again, agroecologies.org, plural. If you are tired of hearing commercials like I am, you can go support us on Patreon for $2 a month and get early access and commercial
And
free
get all new access to the egg cam, everybody. The chicken.
and get all new access to the supposed egg cam that Matt will be setting up at chokewithus.com or
I'm
whatever.
not putting a light in there though, so it's dark.
What are we going with? Chokewithus.com?
Sunshine.
Oh, we got way too many. We're just turning into these dirty venture capitalists. The AI is manipulating us.
Yeah. The only difference between us and them is we don't follow through on it.
Yeah,
And
the American way. We're just going to talk about how we could fix the problems.
I'm just shooting the shit.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we have a government that is now run by people who said, I could fix things if you gave me 10 minutes in power. And now they actually have it.
You see, the thing is, like, we don't need more than 99 federal agencies.
We don't need more than 99 federal officers in general, in anything, including administration and the president.
Mm-hmm.
If there's like 99 people that worked for the government, period, we'd fix everything. Matt, think about it.
Yeah, the government just has to be for a town of 150 people.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this content, go check out those places. We should have new stickers by the time this episode comes out, so go check out the poorproles.com website for sweet new stickers and patches and all that fun shit. Any last thoughts, Matthew? Matthew of the North.
No.
Thank you for that, Matthew. Kind young man. Okay, we're done here, I guess.
I was trying to think of I got my Sunchoke, or I got my I got my I got my tuber pulled at so farm. All I got was the stupid Sunchoke.
All I got is the stupid sticker.
Yeah, yeah, I got my tuber pulled at agroecologies.com, and all I got was this stupid sticker.
Oh my god, I love it. Hold on, I gotta write that down.
I'm pulling my I'm pulling tubers to the poor proles on an egg cam. I feel like tuber pulling has a lot of mileage.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's just got to be the first part.
I got my tuber pulled at agroecologies.org and all I got was the sticker. Yeah, it's gonna sell well.
Yeah.
Okay. We should be done now, unless you got more.
Oh yeah, I gotta stop recording.